Hello and welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I'm Lauren Lyman, and today I'm here with Natalie Lev, who is a speech pathologist and an energy healer. So Natalie, thank you so much for being here with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how you help improve people's health and wellness?
Sure. So my name is Natalie, and I live in Glenview, Illinois, which is in the North Shore. And my professional training is in speech-language pathology, and I work primarily with children 0 to 3 in the early intervention program and in private practice. Along the way, I also have a child who has special needs, and in my on my path and journey to find ways to help him um, grow, and in my process to learn to meet him where he is at and the needs that he has. um, I started exploring alternative medicine and healing practices, and I found that in my practice, although I think a lot of what I do helps support my child, I also do use some Western medicine as well, and I like to emphasize that because, at least for us in this part of our in this stage of our development and growth, it feels like they both work together. So I started using neurofeedback, which is one of the modalities that I use in my practice, and basically, I just didn't want to pay for neurofeedback, so I went and got a neurofeedback machine, and I became certified to use it and to work with it. And I also wanted to understand what it was doing to my child. So I started using it myself, and then I started using it on friends and family. And it just slowly started becoming something that I integrated into my practice, where this is a way that I feel like I can foster growth and development, not just um, working with my son's anxiety, but it felt like it was working with me when I work with him so that I can be more present in the moment and kind of step away from some of the things that get in the way of me helping him, like my own anxieties and concerns about what the future holds for both of us. So I continued using that, and um, then I started. We had a death in the family, and I was working with a holistic, um, a nutritionist at the time who also practiced Reiki. And so I said, why don't you just do this Reiki session for me? And it just so happened that it happened right after we had this death in the family. And I remember being like really taken aback by the ways in which I didn't even realize I was hurting, and the ways in which she helped me. She facilitated this letting go, releasing of certain emotions that were associated with this death in the family that I don't even, I didn't think was there. Um, and I became really fascinated and intrigued in Reiki because I thought, how did she do that, and why can she do that and I can't, type thing. So then I became a Reiki master and teacher, and I started implementing that in my sessions with neurofeedback, and with my clients and other healers, as well as doing some service exchange. Um, and I was really taken aback again by the ways in which I was, the feedback I was getting, basically the way in which I was facilitating their growth and development. The feedback was always that it was like peeling layers off of hurt, and that it opened them up in different ways to different opportunities and experiences in their life. It wasn't just like a one-time situation. It was something that continued to blossom and unfold. And so I was really intrigued by that, and interested in the way it was helping others, but also helping myself. So I continued exploring and looking around, and I stumbled upon something called light language. And I know there's many different types of light language. This light language that I work with is light language that manifests as shapes and colors in order to help manifest different things. So those are the different areas that I like to work with. I'm really curious about um, healing and consciousness and connecting to consciousness and the ways that we can do that, and building community um, as a healing modality, communities for healing, and growing and learning and understanding each other, and just fostering like the upliftment of the human race. I think did I answer all your questions?
You did, yes.
Okay.
So I do have a question just for everybody who may not know specifically about energy healing. Can you explain a little bit more about Reiki, what it is and how it works?
Sure. When we use Reiki, we're just a medium for the energy from the universe, basically, to pass through us. So we can either put our hands on a person. I usually just hover my hands over a person like this. Sometimes I use some touch points that I just picked up on over time, but that's not necessarily Reiki. They're just touch points that I learned by service exchange, basically. And we're just, the energy of the universe kind of comes in. It's super, most people, it's really gradual. Sometimes it feels like warmth. Sometimes it feels cold or tingling, super subtle. A lot of people fall asleep on the table. And it's just a way to clear away. It's a way to heal. It's a way to like bring us back into connection with consciousness. But again, it's super subtle. It's not like I put my hands on someone and they're like, oh my gosh, I had an awakening. Sometimes it's just people feel calm. They feel more at ease over time, sometimes feel more present. And the more open you are, the more likely you are to receive some energy. And usually some people say, I feel hot here, I feel warm here. Oh, I felt a releasing of energy here. Oftentimes I hear people feel it in their sleep cycles, like, oh, I feel more at ease when I'm sleeping. Or I was presented with a situation that I was really looking forward to, and it actually manifested something subtle. They're subtleties. They're not things that come. It's not like you take Tylenol and 20 minutes later you feel better from your knee pain. It's just, they're not, but these are big growths that last the rest of your life. I just feel like over time, I'm slowly seeing more and more synchronicities, and I perceive those as alignments with the energetic consciousness.
Great, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about neurofeedback, kind of what it is and what it feels like for someone receiving that?
Sure. Neurofeedback is more of a mirror. So I'll hook up a couple like little silver electrodes, and they just kind of put some right here and a couple right here behind your ear and some right here. And it's kind of like an EKG machine, and it reads your brain waves and sees what's going on, and then it just gives an auditory feedback. And I like to explain it as a mirror. You go to a fitting room, you try on a dress, and then you realize your shoulders are like this, and you're like, you can do something about it or you don't do something about it. And oftentimes you look and you're like, oh, I can go like this. Oh, I didn't notice my head was so far forward or something. Again, it's subtle shifts and changes. Most people who have done neurofeedback either fall asleep. I've had a lot of people cry or they become teary. And what people don't realize is when we're crying, it doesn't always mean that we're sad or that we're happy. Sometimes you're just releasing energy. And oftentimes that's just you're just releasing energy. Again, it goes into sleep cycles again, where some people say, I slept a little bit better. I slept a little bit easier. And this is another thing that I see shifts over time. So when I first got my neurofeedback machine, I was like, is this really all it does? I'm just going to feel more calm. But the truth is, over time, I felt more present and more connected with the present moment. Approaching my son shifted and changed, where I oftentimes approached him with anger and frustration and sadness for his shortcomings or my shortcomings. And some of that is more like where I'm able to identify those feelings, thoughts, and emotions and either release them, work with them, approach the situation differently, or another one is accept the situation for what it is. So that's basically what I'm getting for neurofeedback. It's really about how we come into situations, how we approach life, and how we can learn to heal ourselves. And those awarenesses just come over time. They're individual. It's not like I tell people this is the way in which you need to heal. It's more like I'm just going to present this learning experience, and hopefully you can integrate it and it works for you to get the tools that you need in order to bring you to where you need to be so you can be most of service to others and yourself. So that's neurofeedback.
So are there specific populations that you work with, kids, adults, certain health concerns?
I work with, I'm willing to work with everyone. It just so happens that right now, when it comes to my speech therapy practice, I'm specialized basically in working with the birth to 3 population. I have some experience working with adults who have issues with dysphagia and cognitive communication issues like memory loss or neurologically based memory loss. That's usually like much older population. With the Reiki and the neurofeedback, it just so happened that I started working more with people like me who are women, moms who have children who have special needs, or just moms who have children, um, which is, I mean, it's stressful. It can be very stressful no matter what. That just so happens to be the people I ended up working with. I'm open to working with anyone. Reiki and neurofeedback are both modalities that are serviceable to anyone, at any point in their life. Oftentimes, the people that I work with are ones who have issues with anxiety, ADHD, and depression. But again, it's not limited to those. It just so happens to be the areas that tend to come up. Sometimes people have issues just with making decision making, or issues with loss. I did work a lot with people with loss just because of, how I came to Reiki, which was through loss essentially. And so just those are the areas that I tend to work with more, but I'm not closed off in any way.
Okay. And how often do you recommend people get Reiki or the neurofeedback? Is that something that needs to be kept up with regularly? Is it something that people can do a lot initially and then kind of taper off?
So I really like people to feel guided. I oftentimes felt taken aback when I was looking for services by people who were pushing their services. That was a big turnoff for me. So I like to say, if you want to come, great. If you don't want to come, that's fine. Generally speaking, I do think that with neurofeedback, you do a lot in the beginning and then you do maintenance. So it's like once to twice a week in the beginning. And then slowly you just realize you don't need it as much as anymore. And then it just kind of slowly fades out to like once every 2 weeks and once a month. And then now I do it like around really stressful periods of my life where I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I'm not using the strategies and the tools that I know that I have. So this is an opportunity for me to jump back into the present. I also use meditation as well, but these are strategies that I use. The same with Reiki. I think initially it works to have a lot, like once a week, twice a week. One thing I like is to teach people how to do it so you can do it by yourself in your home every day. And that becomes something that you can do as a service for yourself and even your family. And then slowly you start learning other modalities. So the way I look at all of these is that these are just different expressways to the same destination. They're not the only methods. But I think that they can facilitate at least opening doors so that we continue asking questions we need to ask in order to continue looking for the things that we need in order for us to heal and grow and learn the most we can while we're having this experience on earth.
Thank you so much. How can people contact you if they are looking to seek out your services?
You can reach me by phone, by email, through the website. The website also has a question and a little section where you can ask a question and it accesses me directly. For neurofeedback and speech therapy, I do accept Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, not for Reiki, unfortunately, or light language. Another way, I guess, is through the Awake website.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I will put all of Natalie's contact information in the description for this video. Natalie, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for being part of this community.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful to have you here. If you are seeking out Natalie's services, or if you just like to learn a little bit more, like I said, all of the links are in the description to this video. Natalie, thank you so much for being here and for everything that you do to contribute to the light of the world.
Thank you.